After you've declared and initialized a vector, the next step is to put some data into it. We'll discuss some means of doing that in this video. First thing we need to do is include the vector class into our program, so let's do that now. Let's move down to the main program, and we'll work first with the vector we worked with earlier, the names vector, which will hold some string values, names. The first means of adding data into a vector, and the most common way to do so, is by using the pushback method. So let me add a couple of names in here real quick. When you use the pushback method, you're adding data into the vector in the first available position. So looking at the program in front of you, when we declare and initialize names, there is no initial data put into the vector. In fact, we don't even initialize the size. When we push back David, David goes into the first available position, which just happens to be position 0. The next pushback for Raymond puts that in the position after David, or position 1. And then Cynthia goes behind Raymond. But with vectors, we're not really worried that much about the position that the data is stored in. We're more interested in having a container that stores all of the data. Think of it like a bag. When you throw something into a bag, you're not really worried about where it is in the bag. You just want to make sure that whatever it is you have is in the bag. A lot of times when you retrieve the data from a vector, it will be in the order that you put it in, but there is no guarantee that that's the case. If you want to be assured of the position of your data in a data structure, then you should use an array, which we'll cover in a later video. So the pushback method simply looks for the next available position in a vector and adds data into it. Another way to add data into a vector is to use direct assignment by specifying a subscript or a position. So I'll just redo these first 3 names using their subscript position rather than just pushing them back. I'm doing the very same thing. In fact, I'm just repeating my work, but that demonstrates how you can add data in using direct assignment. It's really not a preferred way to add data because you do have to pay attention to the order and get your subscripts 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, everything correct. So using pushback is much easier and is usually the preferred way, as I've mentioned before, to add data into a vector. The third way to add data into a vector, which we talked about in the previous video, is to add default data when you declare the vector. Here we're declaring an integer vector called numbers. So we'll say we'll have 1,000 data values initially for the vector, and we're going to assign each position the value 0. This is not a commonly used method, as I talked about previously, but if you need initial data into the vector and you don't want to go through a loop or some sort of assignment to create that data, then using this method of initialization will work. I won't go through the looping process to verify that 0 are in all those 1,000 positions. We did that previously with the letter A into a string vector. But you can trust me that when I write the vector initialization like this, then indeed each position in the vector is getting the value 0. So those are the 3 ways to enter data into a vector: pushback, direct assignment via a subscript, and by using default data in the initialization statement. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to pull data out of a vector using, again, direct assignment and also loops.